what do you think in terms of someone like McCain and maybe Donald Trump that people are saying could be a catastrophe versus just another corporate shill?
I think we have a catastrophe right now, and if you actually compare the policies of the Democratic White House with George Bush, it's hard to say we're better off. Obama fought tooth and nail not to withdraw the troops from Iraq, and it was only George Bush's deadline where the immunity for U.S. troops ended that forced his hand. But we're back. We're back bombing Libya. We've extended these wars all over the place, and there's no sign of them stopping. There are other ways we could proceed. We could establish a weapons embargo, because it's our weapons industry that's arming all combatants basically on all sides. We could establish a peace offensive in the Middle East, which is what we're calling for, a weapons embargo and a freeze on the bank accounts of those countries that continue to fund terrorism. Hillary Clinton herself identified the Saudis as still the major funder of Sunni jihad worldwide. If you look at the climate, yes, all of the above sounded better than drill baby drill, but it turned out to be drill baby drill on steroids actually, because the roof was blown off of fossil fuel extraction. The war on immigrants, the Republicans are the party of hate and fear mongering, but the Democrats are the party of deportation and detention, and in fact night raids. Night raids against who? Women and children who are fleeing from the coup in Honduras that Hillary Clinton herself gave the thumbs up to. So, I'd say that the Democrats do a very good job on messaging and PR, and they lead people into this false sense of security, like things are going to be better. Unfortunately, the Democrats sort of fake left, but they keep marching to the right and becoming more militarist, more corporatist, more imperialist. And look at nuclear weapons. And Hillary Clinton wants to start an air war over Syria by declaring a no-fly zone with a nuclear power Russia that she's been very engaged in provoking. So I will feel horrible if Donald Trump gets elected, but I will also feel horrible if Hillary Clinton gets elected. She has a proven track record, which is really quite a disaster, leading us into the catastrophe of Libya. So, I think it's a false solution. The lesser evil doesn't actually solve the problem. The answer, as Bernie Sanders said many times over, is a truly radical, progressive set of policies that meet the needs of everyday people. That's what's lifting up Donald Trump, is this economic misery. And where did that come from? That was NAFTA, brought to us again by the Clintons, with Hillary advocating for it and celebrating it, sending our jobs overseas. Now the next thing is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Thank you very much, Democrats and Hillary, until she waffled a little bit, but she's likely to waffle back. Or Wall Street deregulation. So that's not the answer. Or the crime bill that opened the floodgates to mass incarceration, or the attack on aid to families with dependent children, the safety net. And after the Clintons led the charge to destroy that safety net, we have millions more children in poverty. So it's a mistake to think that the lesser evil moves us forward. It's still moving us backward in a way that's just unsustainable, unjust, and absolutely intolerable. We have the power, in the words of Alice Walker, biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. If you just look at the number of young people trapped into predatory student debt, that's 42 million. That is a plurality, a winning plurality of the vote. So we need to get the word out, that we the people actually do have the power to come out and take over this election and win it, not only in justice on student debt, but justice for immigrants, and justice for workers, and justice for women and immigrants and the LGBTQ community, and racial justice. These are solvable problems, but we actually need elected officials who are working for us, not for the predatory banks and the war profiteers.
I want to kind of expand on the student loan issue. It's not really reported because the media only cares about Donald Trump as a booger and whatever the latest tweet was. But I mean, these are being packaged now like the houses were,
Yes.
And all this crappy bonds and whatever the fancy names are. So it's kind of looming as a bubble. But let's say take away the name Democrat, Republican, Independent, you're elected just because you're great. You're gonna be up against a very powerful Republican lobby, the corporate Democrats who haven't given up their ways, the media. I don't want to say how practical is it to forgive all these loans, but practically speaking, how do you kind of break the plutocracy? Because even if you win, I mean, they're not just gonna, wave the red flag, the white flag. How is it practical that you could just erase student debt? You're talking at least a couple billion, if not trillion dollars.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's 1.3 trillion, which is actually far smaller than the bailout for the banks, which is 16 trillion, or maybe it's 17 trillion if you add in all the free money.
Maria Bartiromo didn't seem to understand that when you were on with her at Fox. They didn't seem to get that.
That's right. Yes. Well, we have a little bit of educating to do.
Yeah.
But at least they're talking to us, and more power to them for that.
And CNN, let's give CNN credit too.
Yes, let's give CNN credit, absolutely.
You'll be on with them on the 17th.
That's right, on the 17th, tune in. So, it turns out, we came up with 80 billion, I think it was, when the Fed decided, oh, we gotta bail out AIG, and boom, there was the money. And then there was trillions of dollars to bail out Wall Street. So they kind of blew their cover. And now we know that we can bail out whoever we think needs bailing out. Now, was it good to bail out Wall Street? The American people were saying, no, don't do it. Don't bail out these crooks. And in fact, bailing them out just enables them to continue their waste, fraud, and abuse and their reckless gambling. That did not stimulate the economy. On the other hand, just imagine if we bail out for a far smaller price, we bail out a generation of young people who are basically, they've got their hands tied behind their backs with this predatory debt. They're working 2 and 3 part-time, low-wage, temporary, insecure jobs, just trying to keep a roof over their heads. They're not able to pay this debt back. And not only is it a danger to our economy to have this potential bubble that could burst, but this is like the most productive sector of the economy that's been hung out to dry. Let's get rid of that debt. And let's allow young people to bring their passion, their skills, their training to the economy of the 21st century. This is the stimulus package of our dreams. There could be no better way to actually jumpstart a true economic recovery and the refashioning of our economy to meet our needs for clean, green energy and a healthy, sustainable food system and all the rest. We need to bring the ingenuity of the younger generation to bear on our economy. This is the perfect way to do it.
What would you say to the naysayers that say, well, that the banks was a crisis, whereas the students made an agreement and they're reneging on it. Also, the banks, according to them, according to the government, paid it back. I don't know how. I don't think that's completely true, but basically that students. Unfortunately, this is the system we have. It's very expensive, but if you sign the contract, then you can't pull out.
I think Wall Street tore up that contract when Wall Street crashed the economy with their waste, fraud, and abuse. And in 2008, they brought the economy down so that those jobs are not there. So that contract has actually been shredded already, and the banks got off, scot-free. They got off, with murder, basically, economic murder, and then some, real consequences to that economic murder. I think what's going on with our younger generation is a crisis. In fact, this is the elephant in the room because this is a generation that doesn't have jobs, they don't have a place to live, they've inherited an absolute climate crisis which is melting down on their watch. The scientific agencies now tell us, Jim Hansen, the foremost climate scientist, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they're saying that we have till maybe 2050 or 2060 before we start seeing civilization-ending impacts. Sea level rise potentially of 10, 20, 30, 40 or more feet, which means goodbye to all our coastal population centers. It also means our coastal nuclear power plants go Fukushima. This is not a hit we can survive. The world cannot deal with 65 million refugees right now from the consequences of predatory war policies that we've been conducting. There's no way that we're going to survive 10 times that. It's said to be 600 million, which will be climate refugees from this first hit. The point is we have a climate emergency going on right now, which is also a generational emergency because You know, I don't know who plans to be here in 2050, but there are a lot of people from the millennial generation. I would count myself among you as well. You know, I put it here to make sure that we're doing this right. In order to do it right, we got to start now. That's how the climate works. This is an emergency to start now. And let me also add, if you look at the dropping birth rate in this country, this is a sign of a human rights catastrophe. There is a generation that has basically been devastated. You know, they don't have a place to live, they don't have families, they don't have relationships, they cannot think about their reproductive rights. How about their reproductive rights, which are getting absolutely slaughtered right now? So I think there's a terrible disservice that's being done to a younger generation. They should be front and center in our policies and in our plans for you know, turning this around, ensuring that we have the jobs, getting them out of debt. The right to public higher education should be guaranteed. That should be a human right. Throughout the 20th century, we provided a high school education for free because it was essential in order to survive in the economy of the 20th century. Well, now, in the 21st century, you need a college degree or some kind of postgraduate degree if you're going to have a fighting chance in this economy. So by all rights, it needs to be free going forward, and we need to right the wrong of this entrapment in predatory student loans when Wall Street crashed the economy. We need to erase that debt. And that doesn't necessarily require Congress. That can be done with the cooperation of the Fed, who bailed out Wall Street. They can bail out a younger generation.
Yes, yes.
It's interesting to me, if you look at Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump kind of wears his douchebaggery as a badge of honor. Hillary Clinton, you know, kind of is putty, you know. She was, quote, the progressive who got things done versus Bernie Sanders. This morning I saw an ad against Trump. She's using neocons. She's courting Jeb Bush donors. I mean, I could go on. Plain and simple, do you think she's a liar, Hillary Clinton?
Well, put it this way. I don't think you want to believe what she says.
I'm not looking for a soundbite. Just for people, for the media and the revisionists who are making her out to be a champion for the middle class, she's obviously changing her position. So,
to say the least.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd say fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 1,000 times, shame on me.
Yes.
You know, we saw Hillary. If she's working for the middle class, it's the very upper middle class, and the rest of the middle class is kind of joining everybody else who's either in poverty or heading towards poverty. According to the Census Bureau, 1 out of 2 Americans is either in poverty or low income and heading towards poverty. So we're not in a good shape, and it's not just the neocons who caused this, it's also the neoliberals like the Clintons, who gave us, for example, Wall Street deregulation, and that in turn crashed our economy. 9 million jobs went up in smoke. 5 million homes were stolen out from under their homeowners. You know, you had the floodgates open to mass incarceration with these horrific 3 strikes you're out crime bills. Hillary Clinton worked in Haiti, a country with an abysmal poverty wage. She worked on behalf of wealthy U.S. corporations to suppress the minimum wage and to force it down from an absolutely shocking 60 cents an hour down to a mere 40 cents an hour. And that was the legacy of helping families and children that Hillary Clinton led the way on in Haiti. So I think we need to be very clear who is paying Hillary Clinton's bills and her husband's bills, for that matter. They have raised $153 million in private money just from their talks to big wealthy corporations that paid them hundreds of thousands of dollars per speech. They are not sharing those speeches with us. They have been paid big money for those speeches, and they are receiving big money in their campaign contributions and through their super PACs. So if there is any confusion out there about who Hillary Clinton is accountable to, just follow the money and you will see that that story hasn't changed.
The media hasn't covered much of the problems